So you're just a hard determinist, right?
Yeah.
What's your argumentation for determinism being true?
Or at least maybe my to be like completely clear, my exact position would be that I don't think that like we have any sort of like free will. So like everything that we do is
It's just
like
predetermined.
by like something that's not in our control.
Okay, so what do you think that something would be? Because that would just be establishing a functional relationship, like that's necessary for that grounding. So what do you think that is? Like, say for an example, like that agency could be like God, for example, right? God, positions this way. This like, think
Yeah,
brute
basically,
contingency.
my view completely, like just to be clear, my view is that if we do an action, it is not within our control. It can be within the control of some external agent, like a divine being, or like just like the like predetermined events of a spatio-temporal like construct or whatever, right? But I'm just saying that what we do, our actions are not within our control, like the human's control that's making the action. So do you want the argument for that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so do you agree that wait, hold on. Yeah, do you agree that when like we either want to do something or we do not want to do something? That's just like trivially true.
Yeah. Like, say for example, like the example you gave before, like the autonomy thing, like we just have like a belief in something we want to do, but like, like we can choose between the options, right? Because I kind of think that that kind of defeats the whole purpose of there being like one action. I'm not gonna lie, because like if I were to agree to that, that would just be granting like some form of like free will. But at the same time, that's only establishing like that you're still like becoming a part of a determined set, that set still exists. You're only becoming a part of it because you're establishing a thing or a utility which allows you to also assign yourself or rather adhere to a specific set which is already set in motion, and these specific things like. But at the end of the day, you can still grant that that's still like free will, in which proposes that you can like challenge which set you want to choose. Therefore, you are choosing which set you want to. Before, therefore, you have like free will over the option which one to choose. You're just going to a set. You still have free will over it.
My that's not really what I mean, like when I say that humans don't have free will. When I say humans don't have
No, hold on. That's like not what I'm saying. What you mean? Like I'm proposing, like if you are to take a deterministic like stance, like what you explained your stance to be, like I don't think it would actually be an inherent if I would still agree, because I don't think that directly like affects or like correlates, allows for like a conveyance of truth for your stance. What I'm saying is that still proposes free will, and that would just be obviously inconsistent.
Oh no, that was just chill. That was one premise. Like, that wasn't the full argument. Like that was.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying though. Like we don't need to like get like a full argumentation just to realize a error within argumentation. That's what I'm saying. Like even if I were to agree to that, that still just adheres to there being free will, and like
No,
obviously.
not necessarily.
Wait, why? Wait, why? Why?
I mean, I if we can go premise by premise, and then like the argument will like be completely clear once we're like to the end. But I feel like you're just presupposing my argument before I even give it, and like you're just presupposing.
That's not presupposing argumentation. That's me going off of what's presented to me first. Therefore, I'm precogging what could be after that. I'm not. No, that's not presupposing. You're not letting me finish. Hold on. I'm not exactly precogging. Like, let me explain real quick. What I mean by is that I'm directly adhering to the substance in which we have in the first part. I'm precogging this first set premise and what adheres to this premise and what allows for the trigger of this specific premise. I'm not going to the entirety or the totality of this specific thing. Otherwise, I would just be probably making an argument from silence if I were to actually affirm this to be the case, because I would be, going with something because it doesn't within the text and etc. like that. But I'm also just going upon what's within the context of what we have, like basically just a paradigm argumentation which here. So basically, it's just a model of the first premise. So that's what I mean by like precogging, like precogging the first premise, and based off what we have, that just allows for an inference for that.
Yeah, but okay, I don't really like personally like care like if you believe it doesn't like connect to like the conclusion that I'm trying to like come to. I'm just asking you the question: do you believe that? Wait, chill.
Yeah.
Do you believe? Yeah, you're good. You're good. Bro. Do you believe that the proposition that either I want, like for any x, I want to do x or I don't want to do x is true? Like, like for any human action.
I
Like
already
that's
gave. Yeah, I kind of. Let
I
me answer
know.
the.
Wait, Coach. I know you think that you're like attacking my position by doing that, but you're like what you're doing right now is not really attacking the conclusion. You're just attacking like what the premise could be
Dude,
like
yeah,
relating
I'm
to.
not
But I'm not.
trying to.
I haven't even given my argument yet. Like you
Dude,
keep on
hold
saying
on,
that you're.
hold on,
Yeah.
hold on, hold on, hold on. We're going off premise by premises like it's already established, right?
Yeah.
Also, again, I'm not trying to attack your conclusion. What I'm saying is that even if like that's your conclusion, right? The premises is what you're trying to affirm based upon that you're making a conclusion from the premises. That's literally how a syllogism is constructed.
Yeah.
A
Obviously.
syllogism, hold on. The syllogism is basically just precog, or rather, allows for the precognition of the freaking conclusion in the first place. So if I attack one of these premises, the premises follows as a logical conjunctive to the other premise in itself. If I manage to disprove one of these premises, your conclusion isn't going to have, because it's based upon or uses the premises as bases for these propositions being the truth according to you, right? The logical conjunctives in the conclusion, right? Their conclusion is based on that. So if I attack the content of your premises, your conclusion is still not going to actually have a valid substance because it's not logically conjuncting. That's how a syllogism is based upon.
Yo, Seiba, I don't think you're understanding, but the thing is, you're not even attacking the premise. You're attacking some hypothetical conditional that could be created from that premise to it, like some consequent.
No,
But
I
I'm saying,
am.
wait, chill. I'm saying that
Yeah.
you're not. I'm not saying that you're not even like actually attacking the premise itself because you haven't even given me like an answer of whether you think that premise is true or false, right? That's what we care about when we're talking about like premise one, right? But you're like attacking some weird hypothetical conditional claim, like some like connection between this premise and another proposition that I haven't even affirmed yet. So you are actually precogging my argument. You're like attacking some like you're attacking some affirmation that wasn't even made, and you haven't actually attacked the contents of the premises or the premise that I gave. You're just attacking like the connection between this premise and some premise I never even affirmed yet. So I mean,
So no, that's not what I'm directly planning on arguing. I'm not, establishing another premise that's not there. I'm not pre-calling at all. I'm saying that's how a syllogism is like structured based off for number one. Actually, I am attacking the premises because let's just say, for example, because you're arguing for a deterministic view set of the world, right? So obviously you already stated that by your definition and what's actually adhering to that said definition is that basically you're just arguing that you're a hard determinist in which you view every action to be crafted or rather made by an external entity, right? And for the premises, right, I already structured how I would be able to dismantle your argumentation from that, right? I already gave that explanation based upon the structuring or rather the explanation of the premises and how a syllogism works, right? So, and again, the contents of your premise was a question which depended upon my answer, yes, right? It's not a weird conditional, which is a hypothetical. It's directly from the premise in itself. You're asking if I am affirming that this can be the case if X, has these two options which are dichotomous to one another, which allows for the choice and option, right? What I'm saying is that it still allows for affirmation of free will to exist, which set you adhere to, because, and again, I'm not precogging the argument, but I'm precogging the substance of the first premise. The entirety of the argumentation is definitely distinct from what a premise is, being that it's a mere logical component which is used to actually formalize and uses utility for the basis of the conclusion, or rather gives epistemic basis towards that. What I am doing is basically attacking this specific premise and providing a reductio towards the premise, which would basically collapse your argumentation following from the explanation of a premise. So again, I'm not making hypotheticals here or precogging the argument. I'm precogging the things from the premise based upon what is within the contents, because it's not a hypothetical conditional, it's a conditional which is strictly derived from the semantical implication. The semantical implication, which is here, right? It's basically that if you are asking if these choices are there, right? But I already explained, even if I affirm, that's still just free will adhering to two distinct sets. You can still choose that. That's a reductio towards the actual position and how the argumentation is going to structure, because it's striving to prove the conclusion of a deterministic worldview. That's what I'm saying.
okay. So 3 things. Number 1, yeah, you did blatantly say that you just attacked my conclusion, so you're not actually even attacking the premise, number 1. Number 2, wait, what was the reductio that you gave to premise 1? Because I don't actually, before we get to that, before we get to the reductio, are you attacking the validity of the argument, or like the validity of my hypothetical argument, or the truth of the premises of my hypothetical argument? Just answer yes or no. Or like which one?
Yeah, I'll answer. Just give me a few seconds to what I'm saying. Verbatim, no, I
Wait,
didn't
wait,
say I'm
no,
attacking.
look.
Okay, wait. I sound gonna answer the question. Hold on, I'm
Oh,
just making a few points.
I just need you to answer like if you're attacking the truth of the premises or the validity that like, or like the hypothetical premises or hypothetical validity. Like I
Okay.
which one? Like
I'm attacking the content of the premises. I explained the structure.
yeah,
Of the
right.
syllogism.
Okay, that means you're precogging the argument. Okay, and just to like go on to the reductio point. What was the reductio towards premise 1?
Premise 1, I said basically that even if we were to affirm, right, it's going on to basically form the conclusion of a deterministic worldview, but given that that was your position, this argumentation is supposed to be a truth maker for that or truth conveyance, right? So if I am saying that within premise 1, that even if we were to adhere to these 2 choices, these are 2 distinct sets, which are 2 distinct end conclusions, which are a set of specific deterministic operations, right? We are still having the free will to choose which set we will adhere to and allow for these specific operations to take place, right? We are still intuitively going with that, right? Intuitively going with that would just, okay, sorry, I butchered that fucking saying. Hold on, let me just repronounce that. Intuitively allowing for basically a set which to choose, right? It's coming from our intuition, which one to choose and which one we feel comfortable with as a choice, and what we want, our desire. Basically, in that sense, we are still fulfilling our self-known purpose in what destiny of a set we will choose. So if that were to be the case, determinism, I don't think it's basically a high power or the set agency which you're choosing, an external force like an atemporal, not atemporal, sorry, temporal thing or space set or deterministic godlike being, for that example. I'm saying it's our own agency based upon intuition. That's the reductio.
okay, so that's not a reductio towards premise 1 because that's what we call a seal man. So you haven't falsified premise 1. You're just saying that even if premise 1 were to be true, it wouldn't lead to my conclusion, which I haven't even given the conditional yet for. So that's just going to go back to the pre-gong point. We can conclude like on this point.
I don't think that's exactly like steel manning. Hold on, let me just review, then we can conclude. I don't think that's necessarily going based upon even if we grant premise 1 is true. I'm saying this falsifies, or rather, like, I'm saying this basically just debunks the syllogism. I'm not necessarily saying based upon the premise point. I'm saying if this were to this, because I'm granting that it's true, right? I'm granting the truth value to that. Like, I already granted that we have the choice if, I granted because the conditional of that would just basically be us, having the free will to that. So yes, I granted that we can choose between these choices, and that's not, saying if it's false, right? Because I'm already affirming to be the case. So I'm not granting a hypothetical scenario. I'm affirming that this is the scenario, right? Conceptually distinct things here. So what I am saying basically in general is that if we do grant it, it's still providing a valid reductio towards a more free will state, allowing for that, But yeah, we can conclude this point. We can just go on to premise 2.
Okay, but before we do that, I just want to say that that's not a reductio to premise 1. That's just like an attempted reductio towards the conclusion that I'm trying to make, but I haven't even given the argument yet, so you cannot even make a reductio there. But yeah, we can conclude that's about it. We could just go to premise 2. Wait, what did I say that premise 1 was that I either want to do something or not want to do something? Was that what I said for premise 1?
Yeah, that's what you did say.
Wait, I think I gave the wrong fucking premise. I don't think that's the right premise.
No way.
No,
Man.
I do not think that's the way. Hold on. Wait, I mean that's that whole last point. I think may have been trivial as fuck because I don't think that's even my argument. Hold on. Should I? I think that. Oh wait, no. It's like, do we either do have control of an action or we don't have control of an action? Yeah, that's what it was. Okay, yeah, my fault.
That's the case, then my reductive follows. What?
Wait.
No.
What do you mean? That's the case that your reductive follows. What the fuck?
No, just hold on. I just I was thinking back. Like I'm not necessarily saying from that, but I was thinking back because that's a reductive towards like this syllogism in itself. That's what I was trying to infer. My bad, bro.
Oh no
If
no
you
no no
want,
no no.
wait, hold on.
I still don't.
If you want, hold on, wait. If you want, I can just call equivocation fallacy on myself. So
I still don't think that the reductio even holds despite that, because like even if the premise was like not the right one, I just don't think it like
yeah, but
like
what
the
I'm saying
reasoning
is,
that I gave prior just wouldn't hold. But we could hold on.
yeah,
Okay,
wait,
let me
yeah,
go with the new premise one. Let me go with the new premise one. So premise one is that we either, for any action that we do, we either have control of it, or we either have control of it, or we do not have control of it. Do you agree to that? That's just trivial. That's a law of extrusion.
I agree with the negation of us not having control of it. So I think it's only one option. I don't think it's like two options.
You what? You said what?
I agree to the negation of us not having any control of it. So I think it's only
No,
one option.
I'm just asking if you agree to that disjunction, because even if you agree that we don't have control or we do have control of it, we could still just infer that we either do or don't. Like that would still be trivially true, like given the law of the excluded middle.
Yeah, you're asking
So
me which one I adhere to. That's
no,
what
no,
I'm
no,
trying
no,
to
no, no,
see.
no, no. I'm not asking you which one you adhere to. I'm just asking you if you agree to like that disjunction as a whole being true, not like which end.
Okay. So like how it's like formulated by LEM. Okay,
Yeah.
then. Yeah. Okay, then. Yeah, I agree. That's how we formalize that. Yeah.
Okay. Premise 2 is just going to be that if it is the case that we don't have control of X action, then we like it's just trivially true that we do not have like free will over that action, right? Like, do you agree to that? Like, cause that's just I think it's just analytic. Like
it depends which utility you're using it for. Because hold on, let me explain. Even if I were to agree, I think I'd only agree to under some certain specific circumstance, say for example our end result, the compatibilistic sense I gave, the end result, right? Us, trying to be in control of the multiple endings which we have, or something like that, which our life actions could take us. I don't necessarily adhere to one specific thing, in our life actions where every point of our life is controlled or such like that. So in some circumstances or just circumstances, I'd say not a actions, if that was the case, if it were to be a case, I don't necessarily think our actions would be dependent. Hold on, I got my sister. Hold on.
But yeah.
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah, I'm saying for that specific action that I'm talking about.
So one specific action. Given that I'm a compatibilist, I don't think I should agree that it's only it would fall under a specific action, because compatibilism asserts that we have free will over all our actions. So I don't think I would necessarily agree. But if it comes to the LEM thing, how we formalize that, I guess that proposition would be logically coherent under that.
Yeah, I'm back.
Welcome back.
Yeah, but I was just talking about that specific action.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it would adhere to actions and fall from that, but I do agree that's how we actually formalize that proposition, logically coherently speaking. That's how we flex those semantics. I think if it were to come from that, it would just be a contingent proposition. So I think if it were to be true that determinism is the case, if a deterministic entity would determine our life and etc., the proposition following with it would be the case, but I don't necessarily think it's truth in that sense. So I guess we'll just say that the proposition in itself is basically gonna be the that's how we form that. So I guess you could say it'd be sound to say it comes from that way, in which we flex LEM to actually adhere to that. So
do you grant premise 2, or I'm confused?
I said under like the circumstance that how we form the proposition, like from a deterministic set, I think I'd grant in a specific worldview of determinism, like in the way you describe your own definition, which you adhere to, I'd say that's how we can derive the proposition to be the case, not necessarily the truth value to it.
So you said there's not truth value to it? I didn't hear the last part.
No, I didn't say there's not truth value. I said like that's how we. I said hold on, give me a second. Okay, I'm back. I said that's how we basically form the proposition from that specific worldview, which someone would hold, or the model of that. If it were to be the case that it's upheld by determinism, like that, I'd say that basically, like, I wouldn't agree with the truth value of that, but I'm saying that like you could derive the proposition to be logically coherent from that specific worldview if you ever took that dosastic attitude. So
I'm confused. Like, are you asking for an argument? Do you disagree with it? Agree with it? Like, I don't. Like, to simplify.
Let me type this in the chat. Give me a second.
Just say if you agree, disagree, or you're agnostic. Just like one of those three. I don't want any like long explanation, guys. If you want an argument, I can give an argument. If you don't want an argument, then we'll just be granting it. Yeah.
There, I said this BC chat.
Okay. So you disagree? Yo.
Hold on. I think if you just repeat premise 2, I guess we just have a better underlining what I'm saying. Can you like repeat premise 2 real quick?
Mm-hmm. If it's the case that we don't have control of action X, then we don't have free will over action X.
Yeah, so basically what I'm saying is that I agree that the proposition is logically deductible to actually be formed that way as like a truth assigner, but I don't necessarily think the truth value of it is like granted from that. Like I don't necessarily think, because my stance obviously rejects that idea. I don't agree with premise 2 by that as my basis, but I agree that the proposition can be logically formed from that.
Okay, I'll just give the argument since I'm a little bit confused to what you're asking for, but I just think it's analytic. Promise you.
Actually, wait, I think I could just simplify what I'm saying. I think the proposition can be deductible, but I just disagree with the truth value of it. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I already give the argument. We can conclude.
Yeah. Wait, what's the argument? Would you send it? Like, it's the chat or?
No, I said it. It's analytic.
I don't think it's analytic. All right. I think, given what I said earlier, from point 1 still kind of wrecks that, but I don't necessarily feel like doing argumentation if that's the case that follows like that, since I gave it earlier. So I guess we can conclude based off that then, if you want. Like, yeah.
Before we do, I'm just gonna say that all you really said is that you agree it's like logically deducible or whatever. I'm kind of confused at what you mean by that, but you said that.
What I meant was like the proposition in itself. Like I disagree with the truth value, which basically like affirms the proposition in a positive way.
Yeah, so that's frame of denial. So we can conclude because that's not an argument.
Yeah, no, I'm like it was an answer to the question, but I already said like I gave my argument earlier, just like reductive earlier back in point 1, but like that's about it. So if you want, we can like conclude the discussion. I guess I don't know, or we can keep on going because if you want, that's completely up to you.
I'm kind of bored. I'm not gonna lie.
Yes, we can conclude now.
This shit is mad lame. Oh.